Welcome, Mason. How are you?
Very good. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure having you, and you're always such an interesting speaker. And I wanted to congratulate you on getting the funding for your new company, GenLife. And I know that you sort of moving between Asia and here in setting that up. And I'm wondering what general sense you've got about the uptake and the power of FinTech and the blockchain in Asia compared to here.
I would say that FinTech in Asia has a lot better penetration due to the more modern infrastructure there. Over here, we're still tied to our older networks, so we do see an ease and prevalence of the I would say the payments networks over there. They do seem to be very, I guess, tech forward, and so adoption seems to be very easy, especially through channels like WeChat or other newer mobile platforms.
And why do you think that there's been such an embracing of this in Asia and compared to here? Like, what are the differences in the two cultures or infrastructures that have stopped that uptake happening here? Because obviously 2008 disrupted a lot of business and people started looking at, to start with, the financial services with a different cast of eye and potentially could be disrupted. And I know that what they tell me that the blockchain's changing everything, so many industries are going to change. So I'm wondering why it's slower here, why Silicon Valley investors have been slow to the party and in investing, and what your take on that is.
So I haven't been looking at Asia for a very long time, so I can't speak of the longer term trends. Okay. But I can say that perhaps we're just comfortable with what we have so far, and we don't see any need to look forward. Whereas in the Asian countries, it seems like there's a desire to sort of modernize very quickly and to stay forward. And so I would say it's more of a hunger to stay modern.
So someone did say to me, Aldo from Align Commerce told me it was complacency here.
I'd completely agree with that, yeah.
Thank you for that. And so where do you think things are going generally as far as FinTech and the blockchain go, both in Asia and China, obviously, because we're focused on that tonight, and also here? What do you think's possible, and what are the obstacles for us here and the obstacles for China?
I think it really depends on the existing networks and the existing companies and how they want to push newer tech. For there to be sort of a fintech revolution, if you will, there does have to be a lot of buy-in from the larger corporations that already do control the existing piping. So I think in Asia there's a greater tendency and desire to do that, whereas in the US that's a little bit more difficult. Regulation also does have a huge limiting role. So I believe it was Singapore that has a regulatory sandbox now, which makes it a lot easier for startups to get started. And I think every country should have something very similar. Yeah.
Yes, that's on our wish list. It'd be so great to see some more, like some of that movement here. It'd be fabulous, really. So what are your plans? Like, where are you going as far as your startup goes that you can talk about? Like, what do you want to fulfill?
So right now we're looking at growing the team in Hong Kong. And so that's sort of our main focus right now, since we are fairly young. But we do hope to make an impact there using newer technologies. So we have a team that's focused on both AI and blockchain, and we want to bring those two together to see how we can move InsurTech to the next level. Yeah.
And in Asia, it's AI. Has that taken a big step forward compared to the US?
It's hard to say. I would say that AI is more prevalent here in it depends on how you look at it. In technologies that maybe matured in the last five years to the last couple of years, whereas AI is just, from my perspective, is just starting to penetrate right now. But there's a huge drive to spread it.
So it's a bit behind in Asia compared to here as far as AI uptake goes.
From what I've seen, yes.
Well, look, I'm really looking forward to this panel, even though there's not one investor on it. I think it's going to be really interesting because you're also interesting with your companies. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.